Hey everyone, welcome back to Sam's Shower Thoughts. My eye has been twitching, so I want to see if I can get it on camera. It's this one. Of course, now that I'm making a point out of it, it's not going to happen. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam. I wanted to start this video just saying thank you all so much for your grace and your love and your support last week. When I did not post a video because we were going through some grief having lost our dog of 15 years. I'm excited to be back this week, but I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged that because it was really nice to read all of the kind things you guys had to say. It was nice to feel supported because even though we have lost a dog prior, we lost Poiple's puppy Gizmo after 12 years together, and that was somewhat sudden and an emergency on election day in 2020 of all days. It never gets easier, so feeling like I had people in my corner was really nice. So I just wanted to start there. I want to promise that I'm not rushing myself back. I've mentioned it in my last few videos. I do really enjoy making content, and honestly, keeping my brain occupied has been the best thing for me. So while I'm not coming back with long form content, I figured it could be fun to do another Sam's Shower Thoughts. It takes a little less editing, it's a little more short form, and it just kind of lets me get out some completely random mismatched thoughts. So grab a drink. I have my, whoops, it's backwards. I have my Hocus Pocus White Claw tumbler. And I have a problem collecting tumblers, as evidenced by the fact that I also bought a Beetlejuice tumbler while I was visiting my mom. But anyway, grab a drink in your favorite tumbler and let's go through some random thoughts together. So I mentioned I was visiting my mom recently, which did happen. My sister and I traveled to see my mom, and it was really fantastic. And while we were out there, we were talking about our upbringing and the fact that I was the good child. I didn't do anything that was out of line. I didn't even color outside the lines. I was so petrified of breaking rules. That was just the type of kid I was. And we were also, my mom lives in Colorado, so we were talking a lot about the legalization of marijuana, and just things like that. And my sister was asking me, like, have you ever even smoked? And I was like, no, because I was terrified to break the rules. And we live in Illinois, and my mom is a correctional officer. There was no room for me to break the rules. My mom is a terrifying human being. I love her. We call her Super Mom all the time. But she was terrifying. And I was also a product of going to school in the 90s when the D.A.R.E program was popular. And every single time my friends were trying things, trying new things, experimenting, I always had those rules in the back of my head, and I could see that police officer looking into my little third grade face saying, you better say no to drugs. And firstly, the D.A.R.E program is a freaking disaster. The war on drugs, obviously, it's apparent to us now, hindsight is 2020, how bad that program actually was. But I had a shower thought moment on the plane on the way home, which was I had been so conditioned to say no to drugs, right? Because random strangers are just going to offer them to you. I had been so conditioned about that I was terrified. And my mom is a smoker and my dad is not. And so splitting my time between them, we got a break from what it was like to live with a smoker, right? And again, I love my mom. It is nothing against her at all. But I also was like, I'm never going to smoke. It's a terrible vice. I like going to dad's house because it's clean and there's not stuff everywhere, and like my grandparents were heavy smokers, which is why my dad is not a smoker. I'm getting a little rambly. I swear there's a point. I was so afraid to try anything that was considered outside of the box. I was so conditioned to say no to drugs, to say no to smoking, to say no to drinking, but not a person warned me about food. Not a single soul was like, hey, this is also a thing that can become problematic. Where was that conditioning when I was a kid? You know, like, I spent a lot of years picking on my mom and now my two sisters about their smoking and their bad habits. And I just mean cigarettes, not marijuana. But picking on them about their nicotine usage and making it a point of telling them I didn't like it because they were shortening their lives. And it wasn't until maybe the start of the pandemic, maybe just after the start of the pandemic, I realized how hypocritical that was of me, because I was killing myself with food. And I mean, that hit me like literally a ton of bricks, like my background here. Like, it hit me square in the face that I had been picking on people that I loved about their bad habits while trying to hide my own, which I couldn't hide, right? It was evident by my weight gain, but it made me realize how hypocritical that was. To be like, oh, smoking is so bad for you. It's a terrible habit, while also having a vice of my own. And God, like, I can't even, for as much as I remember of the D.A.R.E program and Officer Friendly, that's right, that was his name, coming to our school, I cannot tell you that I have a single memory of talking about like nutrition and healthy eating and how you can make decisions as a kid to make your life better every day. Like, I don't remember having those conversations. I suppose we could have, and I know my mom tried, but she was also a single mom of 3 crazy girls who were all in sports and doing their own things. But like, where was that? Why was I so set up on a path that I was afraid random strangers were going to hand me drugs, but not at all worried about like the food that I was putting into my own body? Again, welcome to Shower Thoughts. This is how the inside of my brain works, trying to interconnect these sort of mishmash core memories. Yeah. Has anyone else ever thought about that? Does anyone else remember the D.A.R.E program so vividly? Were any of you as terrified of it as I was? Like, I literally thought random strangers were just going to be handing me drugs. Like, it's insane to think about now, but it certainly was the way that we were taught. And it seems like they really focused on things that were not going to be super beneficial to us as we got older. I mean, I guess based on my personality type, they kept me out of other vices, but nobody ever warned me about food. Nobody ever warned me about food addiction. Nobody ever warned me about binge eating disorder and how that could sort of wreck your life. I do remember us talking about other restrictive eating disorders, but never binge eating. And it wasn't until, do y'all remember when that sugar documentary came out that said sugar cues the same part of your brain as a drug addiction? It wasn't until that point in time that I actually started looking into like what is happening when we eat. How are these foods designed to be hyperpalatable? Those are things that you don't learn. You have to do that research on your own, which is extremely difficult if you're not a scientist. There's a lot of people, including myself, on the internet who are not scientists. No tea, no shade. I kid, I couldn't without taking a low blow there. There's a lot of people online who are not scientists and who lived through this with me. I am nothing if not a true millennial. I mean, I am a product of my generation, for better or for worse. So yeah, there you have it. Was warned about drugs. Literally thought people were going to hand them to me, but nobody warned me about food and or food addiction. So there you have it. Sam's shower thoughts. They are always random. They hardly make sense, but they're a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. I'd love to hear if you remember the D.A.R.E program and or have weird shower thoughts like my own. Please feel free to share those with me in the comment section below. I will see you in the next one. Bye!